The Ilkhanate, also spelled Ilkhanate, known to the Mongols as Hulgu Aulus, was a khanate established from the southwestern sector of the Mongol Empire. The Ilkhanate realm, officially known as Iranzaman, was ruled by the Mongol house of Hulagu. Hulagu Khan, the son of Tolui and grandson of Genghis Khan, inherited the Middle Eastern part of the Mongol Empire after his brother Mongol Khan died in 1260. Its core territory lies in what is now part of the countries of Iran, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. At its greatest extent, the Ilkhanate also included parts of modern Iraq, Syria, Armenia, Georgia, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Pakistan, part of modern Dagestan, and part of modern Tajikistan. Later Ilkhanate rulers, beginning with Ghazan in 1295, converted to Islam. In the 1330s, the Ilkhanate was ravaged by the Black Death. Its last Khan Abu Sa'id died in 1335, after which the Khanate disintegrated. The Ilkhanate rulers, although of non-Iranian origin, tried to advertise their authority by tying themselves to the Iranian past, and they recruited historians in order to present the Mongols as heirs to the Sassanians of pre-Islamic Iran. Definition. According to the historian Rashid al-Din Hamadani, Kublai Khan granted Hulagu the title of Ilkhan after his defeat of Erik Boki. The term Ilkhan here means Khan of the tribe, Khan of the Ulus, and this inferior Khanship refers to the initial deference to Mongol Khan and his successor Great Khans of the Mongol Empire. The title Ilkhan, borne by the descendants of Hulagu and later other Burjigin princes in Persia, does not materialize in the sources until after 1260. History. Origin. When Muhammad II of Khwarezm executed a contingent of merchants dispatched by the Mongols, Genghis Khan declared war on the Khwarezm Shah dynasty in 1219. The Mongols overran the empire, occupying the major cities and population centers between 1219 and 1221. Iran was ravaged by the Mongol detachment under Jebei and Subutai, who left the area in ruin. Transoxiana also came under Mongol control after the invasion. Muhammad's son Jalal ad-Din Mingburnu returned to Iran in circa 1224 after fleeing to India. The rival Turkic states, which were all that remained of his father's empire, quickly declared their allegiance to Jalal. He repulsed the first Mongol attempt to take central Persia. However, Jalal ad-Din was overwhelmed and crushed by Kermakan's army sent by the great Khan Ogdai in 1231. During the Mongol expedition, Azerbaijan and the southern Persian dynasties in Fars and Kerman voluntarily submitted to the Mongols and agreed to pay tribute. To the west, Hamadan and the rest of Persia was secured by Kermakan. The Mongols invaded Armenia and Georgia in 1234 or 1236, completing the conquest of the Kingdom of Georgia in 1238. They began to attack the western parts of Greater Armenia, which was under the Seljuks, the following year. By 1237 the Mongol Empire had subjugated most of Persia, Armenia, Georgia, as well as all of Afghanistan and Kashmir. After the Battle of Khosdag in 1243, the Mongols under Baiju occupied Anatolia, while the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum and the Empire of Trebizond became vassals of the Mongols. In 1236 Ogdi commanded Greater Khorasan to be restored and the city of Herat repopulated. The Mongol military governors mostly made camp in the Mugan Plain in what is now Azerbaijan. Realizing the danger posed by the Mongols, the rulers of Mosul and Cilician Armenia submitted to the Great Khan. Kermakan divided the Transcaucasia region into 3 districts based on the Mongol military hierarchy. In Georgia, the population was temporarily divided into 8 tumans. In 1244, Gayub Khan stopped raising of revenue from districts in Persia as well and offered tax exemptions to others. In accordance with a complaint by the governor Arghun the Elder, Mongol Khan prohibited Ortog merchants and nobles from abusing relay stations and civilians in 1251. He ordered a new census and decreed that each man in the Mongol-ruled Middle East must pay in proportion to his property. Persia was divided between 4 districts under Arghun. Mongol Khan granted the Khartids authority over Herat, Jam, Pushang, Gor, Khezr, Firuzkoh, Gargistan, Farah, Sistan, Kabul, Tyra, and Afghanistan. Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan, third son of Tolui, grandson of Genghis Khan, and brother of both Mongol Khan and Kublai Khan, was the first Khan of the Ilkhanate. Immediately after his brother Mong's succession as Great Khan in 1251, Hulagu was appointed as administrator of North China. However, in the following year, North China was assigned to Kublai and Hulagu tasked with conquering the Abbasid Caliphate. He was given a fifth of the entire Mongol army for the campaign, and he took his sons Abaka and Yoshmut along with him. Hulagu also took with him many Chinese scholars and astronomers, from whom the famous Persian astronomer Nasir al-Din al-Tusi learned about the mode of the Chinese calculating tables. An observatory was built on a hill of Maragay. Taking over from Baiju in 1255, Hulagu established Mongol rule from Transoxiana to Syria. He destroyed the Nizari Ismaili state and the Abbasid Caliphate in 1256 and 1258 respectively. In 1258, Hulagu proclaimed himself Ilkhan. After that he advanced as far as Gaza, briefly conquering Ayyubid Syria and Aleppo in 1260. Monk's death forced Hulagu to return to Mongolia to attend the Kurultai for the next great Khan. He left a small force of around 10,000 behind in Palestine that was defeated at the Battle of Ain Jalut by the Mamluks of Egypt. Due to the suspicious deaths of 3 Jochid princes in Hulagu's service, Berk of the Golden Horde declared war on Hulagu in 1262. According to Mamluk historians, Hulagu might have massacred Berk's troops and refused to share his war booty with Berk. Berk sought a joint attack with Baibars and forged an alliance with the Mamluks against Hulagu. The Golden Horde dispatched the young Prince Nagai to invade the Ilkhanate, but Hulagu forced him back in 1262. The Ilkhanate army then crossed the Tarik River, capturing an empty Jochid encampment, only to be routed in a surprise attack by Nagai's forces. Many of them were drowned as the ice broke on the frozen Tarik River. In 1262, Hulagu gave Greater Khorasan and Mazandaran to Abaka and northern Azerbaijan to Yoshmut. Hulagu himself spent his time living as a nomad in southern Azerbaijan and Armenia. During his early rule, the Ilkhanate experienced mass revolts by its subjects, with the exception of the Seleucids and Artukids in Anatolia and Mardin. It was not until Shams al-Din Juvayni was appointed as vizier after 1262 that things started calming down and a more sustainable administration was implemented. Hulagu fell ill in February 1265 after several days of banquets and hunting. He died on 8 February and his son Abaka succeeded him in the summer. Middle period. Upon Abaka's accession, he immediately faced an invasion by Berk of the Golden Horde, which ended with Berk's death in Tiflis. In 1270, Abaka defeated an invasion by Ghiyas-ud-Din Barak of the Chagatai Khanate. Abaka's brother Tekuder sacked Bukhara in retaliation. In 1277, the Mamluks invaded Anatolia and defeated the Mongols at the Battle of Elbistan. Stung by the defeat, Abaka executed the local regent Muin ad-Din Pervane and replaced him with the Mongol prince Konkurtai. In 1281, Abaka sent Monk Temur against the Mamluks, but he too was defeated at Homs. Abaka's death in 1282 triggered a succession struggle between his son Argan, supported by the Kharanas, and his brother Tekuder, supported by the Chinggisid aristocracy. Tekuder was elected Khan by the Chinggisids. Tekuder was the first Muslim ruler of the Ilkhanate, but he made no active attempt to proselytize or convert his realm. However, he did try to replace Mongol political traditions with Islamic ones, resulting in a loss of support from the army. Argan used his religion against him by appealing to non-Muslims for support. When Tekuder realized this, he executed several of Argan's supporters, and captured Argan. Tekuder's foster son, Baak, freed Argan and overthrew Tekuder. Argan was confirmed as Ilkhan by Kublai Khan in February 1286. During Argan's reign, he actively sought to combat Muslim influence, and fought against both the Mamluks and the Muslim Mongol Emir Nuruz in Khorasan. To fund his campaigns, Argan allowed his viziers Buka and Sid ad-Dawla to centralize expenditures, but this was highly unpopular and caused his former supporters to turn against him. Both viziers were killed and Argan was murdered in 1291. Religious shift. The Ilkhanate started crumbling under the reign of Argan's brother, Geykatu. The majority of Mongols converted to Islam while the Mongol court remained Buddhist. Geykatu had to buy the support of his followers and as a result, ruined the realm's finances. His vizier Sadruddin Zanjani tried to bolster the state finances by adopting paper money from the Yuan dynasty, which ended horribly. Geykatu also alienated the Mongol old guard with his alleged sexual relations with a boy. Geykatu was overthrown in 1295 and replaced with his cousin Baidu. Baidu reigned for less than a year before he was overthrown by Geykatu's son, Ghazan. Hulagu's descendants ruled Persia for the next 80 years, tolerating multiple religions, including shamanism, Buddhism, and Christianity, and ultimately adopting Islam as a state religion in 1295. However, despite this conversion, the Ilkhans remained opposed to the Mamluks, who had defeated both Mongol invaders and crusaders. The Ilkhans launched several invasions of Syria, but were never able to gain and keep significant ground against the Mamluks, eventually being forced to give up their plans to conquer Syria, along with their stranglehold over their vassals the Sultanate of Rum and the Armenian Kingdom in Cilicia. This was in large part due to civil war in the Mongol Empire and the hostility of the Khanates to the north and east. The Chagatai Khanate in Mogolistan and the Golden Horde threatened the Ilkhanate in the Caucasus and Transoxiana, preventing expansion westward. Even under Hulagu's reign, the Ilkhanate was engaged in open warfare in the Caucasus with the Mongols in the Russian steppes. On the other hand, the China-based Yuan dynasty was an ally of the Ilkhanate and also held nominal suzerainty over the latter for many decades. Ghazan converted to Islam under influence of Nuruz and made Islam the official state religion. Christian and Jewish subjects lost their equal status and had to pay the jizya protection tax. Ghazan gave Buddhists the starker choice of conversion or expulsion and ordered their temples to be destroyed, though he later relaxed this severity. After Nuruz was deposed and killed in 1297, Ghazan made religious intolerance punishable and attempted to restore relations with non-Muslims. In terms of foreign relations, the Ilkhanate's conversion to Islam had little to no effect on its hostility towards other Muslim states, and conflict with the Mamluks for control of Syria continued. The Battle of Wadi al-Khazandar, the only major victory by the Mongols over the Mamluks, ended the latter's control over Syria for a few months. For the most part, Ghazan's policies continued under his brother Olyatu despite suggestions that he might begin to favor the Shia brand of Islam after he came under the influence of Shia theologians al-Hili and Matham al-Barani. Olyatu, who had been baptized in Christianity as an infant, had flirted with Buddhism, became a Hanafi Sunni, though he still retained some residual shamanism. In 1309-10, he became a Shiite Muslim. An Armenian scribe in 1304 noted the death of benevolent and just Ghazan, who was succeeded by Kurbanda Olyatu who too exhibits goodwill to everyone. A colophon from 1306 reports conversion of Mongols to Islam and they coerce everyone into converting to their vain and false hope. They persecute, they molest, and torment, including insulting the cross and the church. Some of the Buddhists who survived Ghazan's assaults made an unsuccessful attempt to bring Olyatu back into Dharma, showing they were active in the realm for more than 50 years. The conversion of Mongols was initially a fairly superficial affair. The process of establishment of Islam did not happen suddenly. Olyatu's historian Gashani records that Kulf Shah, after losing patience with the dispute between Hanafis and Shafis, expressed his view that Islam should be abandoned and Mongols should return to the ways of Genghis Khan. Gashani also stated that Olyatu had in fact reverted for a brief period. As Muslims, Mongols showed a marked preference for Sufism with masters like Safi ad-Din Ardabili often treated with respect and favor. Disintegration. Olyatu's son, the last Ilkhan Abu Sa'id Bahadur Khan, was enthroned in 1316. He was faced with rebellion in 1318 by the Chagatayids and Khuranas in Khorasan, and an invasion by the Golden Horde at the same time. An Anatolian emir, Irenchen, also rebelled. Irenchen was crushed by Chupan of the Taichio in the Battle of Zanjan Rud on July 13, 1319. Under the influence of Chupan, the Ilkhanate made peace with the Chagatais, who helped them crush the Chagatayid revolt, and the Mamluks. In 1327, Abu Sa'id replaced Chupan with Big Hassan. Hassan was accused of attempting to assassinate the Khan and exiled to Anatolia in 1332. The non-Mongol emirs Sharafuddin Mahmud Shah and Ghiyazuddin Muhammad were given unprecedented military authority, which irked the Mongol emirs. In the 1330s, outbreaks of the Black Death ravaged the Ilkhanate and both Abu Sa'id and his sons were killed by 1335 by the plague. Ghiyazuddin put a descendant of Erik Boki, Arpa Coin, on the throne, triggering a succession of short-lived Khans until Little Hassan took Azerbaijan in 1338. In 1357, Jani Beg of the Golden Horde conquered Chupan and held Tabriz for a year, putting an end to the Ilkhanate remnant. Franco-Mongol alliance. The courts of Western Europe made many attempts to form an alliance with the Mongols, primarily with the Ilkhanate, in the 13th and 14th centuries, starting from around the time of the Seventh Crusade. United in their opposition to the Muslims, the Ilkhanate and the Europeans were nevertheless unable to satisfactorily combine their forces against their common enemy. Government. In contrast to the China-based Yuan dynasty, who excluded the native population from gaining control of high offices, the Ilkhanate ruled their realm through a Central Asian Persian administration in partnership with Turco-Mongol military officers. Not all of the Persian administrators were Muslims or members of the traditional families that had served the Seleuks and Khwarezmians. For example, the Ilkhanate vizier from 1288 to 1291 was Said al-Dawla, a Jew, while the prominent vizier and historian Rashid al-Din Hamadani was a Jewish convert to Islam. The Ilkhanate Mongols remained nomadic in their way of life until the end of the dynasty. Their nomadic routes covered central Iraq, northwest Iran, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. The Mongols administered Iraq, the Caucasus, and western and southern Iran directly with the exception of Georgia, the Artukid Sultan of Mardin, and Kufa and Loristan. The Kharanas Mongols ruled Khorasan as an autonomous realm and did not pay taxes. Herat's local Kart dynasty also remained autonomous. Anatolia was the richest province of the Ilkhanate, supplying a quarter of its revenue while Iraq and Diyarbakir together supplied about 35% of its revenue. In 1330, the annexation of Abkhazia resulted in the reunification of the Kingdom of Georgia. However, tribute received by the Ilkhans from Georgia sank by about three-quarters between 1336 and 1350 because of wars and famines. Legacy. The emergence of the Ilkhanate had an important historical impact in the Middle Eastern region. The establishment of the unified Mongol Empire had significantly eased trade and commerce across Asia. The communications between the Ilkhanate and the Yuan dynasty headquartered in China encouraged this development. The dragon clothing of imperial China was used by the Ilkhanids. The Chinese Huangdi title was used by the Ilkhanids due to heavy clout upon the Mongols of the Chinese system of politics. Seals with Chinese characters were created by the Ilkhanids themselves besides the seals they received from the Yuan dynasty which contain references to a Chinese government organization. The Ilkhanate also helped to pave the way for the later Safavid dynastic state, and ultimately the modern country of Iran. Halaku's conquests had also opened Iran to Chinese influence from the east. This, combined with patronage from his successors, would develop Iran's distinctive excellence in architecture. Under the Ilkhans, Iranian historians also moved from writing in Arabic to writing in their native Persian tongue. The rudiments of double-entry accounting were practiced in the Ilkhanate. Murtaban was then adopted by the Ottoman Empire. These developments were independent from the accounting practices used in Europe. This accounting system was adopted primarily as the result of socio-economic necessities created by the agricultural and fiscal reforms of Ghazan Khan in 1295–1304. Ilkhan as a tribal title in 19th/20th century Iran. The title Ilkhan resurfaced among the Qashqai nomads of southern Iran in the 19th century. John Muhammad Khan started using it from 1818–19 and this was continued by all the following Qashqai leaders. The last Ilkhan was Nasir Khan, who in 1954 was pushed into exile after his support of Mossadegh. When he returned during the Islamic Revolution in 1979, he could not regain his previous position and died in 1984 as the last Ilkhan of the Qashqai.